Hello Year 10, welcome back to your next living room lessons. So we are cracking on with our water topic today, and for today's lesson all you're going to need is your exercise book, pen and ruler and your phone, nice and easy. So before we get started, as we always do, jog your memory, 3 quick questions. Why do Hicks use more water than Licks? What is retreat the line? And why do rural areas find it tricky to be sustainable? So scan the QR code or follow the link and go and have a go at this jog your memory for us, please. So last lesson we were talking about water supply and demand, and we were talking about how different parts of the world have different levels of supply and demand and how that then impacts their uses of water. But what we're coming on to think about today is 2 more key terms, water stress and security. So having a look at what it means for a place to be within water stress and how that impacts their water security. So title in your books today is water stress and security. Please write that in for me. So first key term I'm going to introduce today is the idea of a water footprint. So a water footprint is the measurement of the amount of water used to produce a product. So every product that you will buy will have a water footprint. So to create a t-shirt, there is over 713 gallons of water that go into the production of 1 cotton t-shirt. 36 million gallons per day of water is leaked. Just leaked, not used, leaked from New York City water supply. So obviously different things have a different amount of water, of a water footprint. So products that are using a huge amount of water to be created will have a higher water footprint than other products. So what I'd like to do is copy out this key term and then just go and watch this video, and that's that. So as I say, today we're mainly thinking about water stress and security. So this map here shows you water stress by country. This is different to the one we looked at last lesson, because last lesson we were having a look at places that, how high a place's supply of fresh water is. So what this has now turned into is it's having a look at places which have got a high amount of water stress. So what's quite interesting is on that last one we picked out that Chile had quite a high supply of water demand, but they're actually a country that's in extreme water stress, so maybe that means that their water's not very accessible, but that's aside. So what this shows, the redder the country, the higher the water stress is in that place. The more pale yellow, the lower the water stress is in that place. So what I would like you to do very quickly is just have a look at this map and complete these two sentence starters here for me. So places with the highest water stress are, and I'd like you to try and pick out some names of countries. So I'm testing your geographical knowledge here. Pick out a couple of countries that have got a high amount of water stress, and then I want you to have to think about what the reasons might be for this. So we've got 3 images here that might help you think about this. So we've got a young child drinking water that's obviously not clean because they haven't got piped supply. We've got global warming, the impacts of increasing temperatures, and we've got population. So try and pick out your countries, your maybe 3 countries, based on these reasons. So I will give you an example because I'm that kind. So the one where we look at our population. So there's an increasing population. We could link that very nicely to India. So India we can see as a country that has got a high amount of water stress, and we could probably put this down to the fact that they've got this rapidly increasing population. So there you go, I've given you one. Pause your videos and come up with a couple more. So countries, and have a think about why water stress might be impacting those countries. Okay, so places you could have picked out. We could have picked out places like Australia. We've got Indonesia here, we've got parts of Northern Africa like Egypt and Tunisia, Mexico. So if you wanted to apply some of these reasons to them, we could, for example, pick out Indonesia, which is an island nation, lots of low-lying land. They could be impacted by global warming. So as sea levels start to rise, any fresh water that they might have might become contaminated by those rising sea levels. And if we were to think about countries which maybe have a lack of access to piped supply, we might pick out some of our countries in Africa. So I think this is Somalia over here. So Somalia is an example of a country which is very, very low income, and they're not going to have piped supply. So this will be reasons why they have such high levels of water stress here. Which brings us on to this next map, and this is slightly different. So this map shows water security. So your next key term is water security, which is the reliable availability of an acceptable quantity and quality, key there that it's quality, of water. So this is broken down even more. It's not just by countries, you can see it's by regions. So it shows you places which have got a lack of water security. So the redder the country again, the higher the levels of water security. So we can see that there are some places which have got surprising levels of water security. But if we look at Australia, for example, on our last map, it showed us that Australia had complete water stress, high levels of stress. Whereas this shows us that actually it's just regional. Not the whole of Australia is affected by water stress and insecurity. It's a regional thing. So what I'd like you to do next is just pause your screens and copy out this key term. So water security equals the reliable availability of an acceptable quantity and quality of water. Okay, so what we've got here are the main reasons why people might have water insecurity. Water insecurity is obviously just the opposite of security. So places that don't have a good access to a good quantity and quality of water are places that have got water insecurity. So on the board are six of our factors why places might have water insecurity. I want you to unjumble these words, maybe put them in a mind map, maybe just do them as a list, however you fancy. But unjumble these reasons why places might have a water insecurity. Okay, so here are our answers. So war. War is obviously a significant impact. Parts of the world which are currently undergoing civil unrest or wars within the countries are going to be affected by access to water. Poverty is one of our biggest ones though, because poverty feeds into lots of the other ones. So if a place is living in extreme poverty, they're not going to have a good piped supply of water. They're not going to have the infrastructure to enhance their development and make sure that every household has got access to piped clean water supply. Natural disasters is another big impact because obviously if you've got lots of floods and tropical storms, again, that's going to contaminate any clean fresh water supplies there are. Populations, so as populations start to increase, you're going to have more water demand than there might be supply because there's more people who need access to that water. And lastly, desertification, which is something we will come into in more detail because it's actually a whole topic in theme 3. But desertification, again, links to climate change, is the process of fertile land becoming desert, so turning from rich soil to infertile sand. And as desertification continues, that's obviously going to have an impact on water supply in those areas. So hopefully you got all of those. And what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at a few past questions to kind of consolidate this. So there's 2 here and there is a third one. So this first one here says complete the sentences that follow using 4 words or phrases from the text box below. So I want you to copy out this gap fill and I want you to select 4 words out of these 9 words that you would select in there. And then I want you to have a look at this question here. Give 1 reason why water security is important to all countries. Okay, so have a go at these 2 questions and I will go through them in a moment. Okay, so let's go through this very quickly. So water is essential for life. We use it in the home, for irrigation in agriculture and for industry. The higher a country's GNI, gross national income, remember, the more water they will use. The amount of water we use and its impact is known as the water footprint. Okay, hopefully you all got that one right. But in terms of this one, there's a bit more fluidity on what your answer could be for this one. So obviously it's a 2-mark question which asks for a reason. So you were going to make a point and you were going to elaborate that point once. If you've just given 2 points about why water security is important, you'll only get 1 mark because it's asking you for a reason. So reasons could include that water security will reduce poverty, which will lead to more people having access to schools, which might lead to higher education levels and better economic output. Or you could say that water security means that a country is going to be able to develop its infrastructure, develop its industry. So more water security means more industry, which means more trading. So those are 2 reasons you could have said for why water security is important. And then the last question I want you to have a think about is how will climate change impact water security? So I want you to have a go. So this is a 3-mark question. So what I would expect for this one is 1 mark explained twice, 1 point, sorry, explained twice. So what you need to think about is the impact increasing temperatures are going to have on water security. So think about our tropical regions, our semi-arid regions. Think about how they will be impacted by rising temperatures. And again, I will go through this in a moment with you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have given myself 2 points here, and I'm just going to quickly show you how you might explain these points. So I assume you've probably all written them out more as kind of a full answer rather than as a flowchart, but I'm just going to do it on here because my handwriting's terrible. So one of the points you could say is climate change will lead to more tropical storms, okay? And more tropical storms will lead to increased storm surges, which will lead to contaminated water supply, okay? So that's one point you could have made, because obviously as temperatures increase, we're going to have higher ocean temperatures, which will lead to there being an increased amount of tropical storms, which will lead to an increased amount of storm surges, which will flood coastal areas, which could lead to an increased amount of contaminated water supply, which impacts a place's water security. And then another one we could talk about is desertification. So as temperatures increase, there's going to be a spreading of deserts, which will lead to sorry, I haven't even thought about this myself. That's really good teaching, isn't it? I haven't thought about that very much. Which will lead, so desertification will lead to less trees and shrubs, which will lead to less water interception and runoff. So that was a bit more complicated. Sorry, I didn't choose a very good one there. So as we get more deserts, it means there's going to be less trees, less shrubs, and trees and shrubs are really good at slowing down rainfall. So when there's precipitation, they will collect huge amounts of water. So if you're reducing the amount of trees and shrubs, there's going to be less water collected on the surface. And that water then feeds into reservoirs, lakes, etc., which will increase a place's water security. Okay, so 2 reasons there why climate change will impact a place's water security. So next thing I want you to do is, this is just a little interesting thing and it just blows my mind a little bit. So this video will talk you through an approach that they have taken in the United Arab Emirates to try and reduce their issues of water insecurity. So just watch this clip. You can make a couple of notes if you want because it is interesting, but yeah. Isn't it mad? Their plan is they are going to take a giant iceberg from Antarctica. They are going to sail it across the ocean up to the United Arab Emirates, and then they're going to keep it out in the sea because it won't melt very quickly. And they will just take ice from the iceberg every once in a while, and they will then use that water for their water supply. Mad, isn't it? Mad what money does to you. So the last thing you are going to do today is you're actually going to practice a bit of a geographical skill. So what we've got here is a graph. Now a table. This table looks a little bit overwhelming, and to be honest, I put too many columns and bits of information in there that you don't really need. But what it shows is a range of countries. You'll see that the majority of these countries are low-income countries, and then at the bottom we've got the UK and the USA. And then our 3 columns, we've got annual water use by agriculture, and this is in kilometres squared per year. So it's the amount of water used in these countries for agriculture. Then we have the annual water use per capita, so metres squared cubed of water per person per year. And then we have the average income of the country. That's just to give you a bit of perspective of the fact that these are generally our low-income countries, these are our higher-income countries. So what I want you to do is you're only going to be focusing on this column here. And what you are going to be doing is creating a compound bar graph that will compare the UK to 3 of our low-income countries. So select 3 of our low-income countries, and you're going to be creating a compound bar graph. So I will show you what that will roughly look like. So what you will have going up the side is you will have the metres cubed of inhabitants per year. So you want to go up fairly high on this. Obviously the UK alone is 1,710, and then you need to make sure that your x-axis, you know maths isn't my thing, x and y, yeah, no, it's your y, isn't it? Your vertical axis, that's terrible of me. Your vertical axis has got enough to cover the UK plus 2 of your low-income countries. And what you need to do for a compound bar graph is, first of all, you will draw on the UK's bar, so the height of that, and then on top of it, you will stack on your 3 low-income countries. So you'll end up with, it's just going to be one bar, but you'll end up with this one bar which shows 4 different countries' amount of water, annual water use per capita. Colour them in so you can see. And once you've done that, I want you just to write a quick sentence underneath to describe the differences and explain why that might be. So obviously you can see I've already half the examples already here for you. The UK's bar is huge, and you are going to find that your 3 low-income countries are going to sit very small on top of that. So once you've drawn it, you need to give a description. So describe your graph. Remember, when you're describing your graphs, you can use your pads technique. So your pad, so what is the overall pattern? Are there any anomalies? And have you used specific data? So outline what the graph is showing, and then I want you just to kind of bring together everything we've been looking at and say why you think this might be. So why is it that the UK is going to have this huge bar compared to our low-income countries? Okay, well done. Last thing I want you to do today is just watch this video. It's about 10 minutes long, but just kind of brings together everything we've been looking at today. So watch this video, you don't need to make any notes, just soak up the geography, all right? So pause the video, scan the QR code or follow the link and go and watch this vid. Right, well done Year 10, another brilliant lesson there. So what you should have in your book today is your water footprint key term, description of water stress, water security key term, the factors for water insecurity, the 3 exam questions and a compound bar graph. Lots of stuff covered today, really, really good. Next lesson, we're going to come to have a think a bit more about specific places and how they are impacted. So well done Year 10, and I'll see you all very soon.